The
Right.
postponement wouldn't go against the
No,
policy.
I understand that.
The other thing it wouldn't do is, as long as you don't, if you want to call a different meeting at a time that is not a second Wednesday or a fourth Wednesday, you can still have a school committee meeting. It's just the expectation that on the second and fourth Wednesdays, you would have a regular one.
Right,
If I could.
okay.
I fully understand your question. I believe that if we decide to change it to a Thursday, it would require a revision to a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I also do believe that if it's not held because of a postponement, there is a policy that clearly indicates how to call a special meeting, and it would require either the chairman's signature or two people. So I think everything's in place in the case of a postponement. If we change the day, I think would go back and change the.
Okay, that's
If
fine.
you change the day for like the whole year, I would agree. You would
That's what I'm
probably
saying.
change the
Because
policy.
we did that in April.
Well, that's why we changed this one.
Right, we had our meetings on Tuesdays until we all decided Wednesdays would be better, and, okay. All right, that's fine.
But if you're just changing one or adding an
No,
additional.
I wasn't
then
talking-
it's
Changing
I wasn't
regular
talking
scheduled
about
meetings
that.
to like Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. Now you have
Then-
to.
I was
you
talking
have
about
schedules.
changing like, in April, if there are new people, or if people's
Right, they
outside
can't do Wednesdays
responsibilities.
anymore.
Right.
Then I would
Then you come
suggest
back
we
and change
change
this.
this.
Okay,
Because
that's
I
fine.
think people,
That's
once they
fine.
get used to a regular schedule, they look for it. And the worst that could happen is there's a postponement, and they would go on the website and look at the schedule and say, ooh, they postponed this, and when is it? When is it going to happen next? It's the extra ones that we may have that would be more interesting to try to promote them and let people know they're happening.
Okay, very good, thank you. Thanks for clearing that up for me. All those in favor, or any other discussion or questions?
Good.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimous. Okay, letter G, approval of the school committee calendar.
Based on the policies we just passed, and based on the proposed yearly calendar for next year, we wanted to bring up several things. This year, February 23rd is a scheduled school committee meeting, one of those regular ones. And the only issue is that it falls in the middle of vacation. And from time to time, we've chosen not to have those meetings in a vacation week. I was hoping to take time off, but
Can you say that?
it's
date again, please?
negotiable.
February 23rd.
February
23rd is
23rd is in
fine.
the middle of the break, the February break.
I would be inclined to move that.
If we're going to do that, the other thing we discovered is usually in April, we only had one, because on Tuesdays, when we used to have the meetings, we had the elections. And the elections they're still going to be Tuesday, but because we now have our school committees on Wednesday, we could have a meeting on April 13th in lieu of having one February 23rd. Because it will not impact the election.
And that brackets our April vacation.
Yes.
Okay. I would support that.
Mhm.
So those would be the two changes to this year's calendar now to June.
Scratch the 23rd, February.
And I
Bless you.
anticipate April to be a busy season of budget review, so
We would need another meeting anyway.
we need at least one.
Well,
other
and
meeting.
that's why I figured that wouldn't be a bad time to do it. You also, the elections usually are the Tuesday before that meeting, so we could do the reorganization meeting if we need to.
Do we have a town meeting?
Town meeting
Scheduled already?
is, I went to the budget subcommittee meeting, and they were talking about, I think it's the first week in May, but they were talking about moving it, so.
This way or the other way?
Yeah, that
The other
way.
way, okay. So we're not going to fall into multiple nights of town meeting and have an April?
No, they were talking the first week in May anyway.
Okay.
So-
So we're good for town meeting?
By schedule, I think
we'll see.
that's when it's, if everything falls into place, it's that first week in May, but traditionally, due to the state revenue figures
We
coming
usually
in,
back it out.
Yeah.
and many other discussions.
They were trying to think about whether moving it out, but I don't think, they didn't make a decision at that
No.
meeting. They were just floating the idea that perhaps they may need more time to look at the figures from the state, and therefore pushing town meeting back would give us a better picture of revenue projections, and we'll
Motion to
see.
accept the school calendar with the revision of taking out February 23rd and replacing with April 13th, regular school committee meeting.
Second.
Any further discussion?
You do have also the fall dates based on that new calendar, which include, we usually don't have meetings in July or August, not regular, but if we need them, we can discuss calling a meeting during the summer. November is usually only one meeting, because usually the second would fall in the middle of, or just before Thanksgiving, and we usually have one in December, because the second one usually falls during Christmas break. So, just so you know, it actually goes into next year, and I'm sure if we have new members of the committee in April, we'll ask the question again, but at least this gives a forward-looking document for people who want to know.
Forward, thanks.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I just want to apologize. I left the policy section too soon. I just want to say thank you very much to Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Duart. That was a lot of work going into looking at these policies in the subcommittee, and thank you very much for that. Okay, item H, approval of the school climate and resources section of the district improvement plan.
Looking at some of the concerns that were raised over the school climate section of the district improvement plan, there were several things that I did. There are some minor changes. Basically, it's pushing back some of the training that would be provided to staff in order to reduce the necessary resources for that part of the plan into future years, which then obviously would mean changing the resources part of the district improvement plan to lesser amounts in the next year or two, and then pushing out the amounts further out into the future. I did, I believe in your, I did make available, was it through email that I sent it? The research piece?
We handed it here.
No,
You have the research piece here.
Yeah, it's on.
All right, so I did, I didn't have the chance to do that well in advance, but I did go through and pick up some of the research. The interesting part about the research for these is that it's right now being looked at by one of the big universities under a big grant as to a longitudinal study. So the research is not finished, but what I did pick up was a lot of the different studies that support this kind of an approach to school climate, discipline, working with students as they develop from very young children to young adults to adults in the high school. So I provided some of that for your information, because that had also been a question. And I'd like to at least put the district improvement plan to bed so we can then begin to talk about the budget for next school committee meeting, which is actually only a week away.
Can I have a motion to approve the school climate and resources section of the district
I'll
improvement plan?
make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Well, for discussion purposes, I'll second it.
Okay.
I was just going to do that since that was our policy.